Welcome to the March meeting of the Audit, Finance, and Budget Committee of the Buffalo Fiscal Stability Authority. I will first call the roll of the committee members present. Chair Olson is excused. Vice Chair Jurczak here, and Secretary Floss is here. Therefore, we have a quorum, and we may begin our first order of business, which is the approval of the minutes from the September 21st, 2022 meeting. Jeanette, motion? Okay. I'll second. Are there any changes to the minutes? A copy of the minutes and the accompanying draft resolution are located under tab 1 in your board book. Okay, seeing no discussion, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? The minutes are approved. Our next action is to review the BFSA's preliminary 2023-24 budget and related four-year financial plan, and to authorize its posting for public comment. We are not approving the budget at this time, but rather are approving the document to be posted for public review and comment. This document will be posted by the BFSA website and provided to all city public libraries for public posting. Any public comments received on the budget will be forwarded to this committee. The preliminary budget is provided under tab 1 in your board book, along with the accompanying draft resolution. Jeanette, would you like to make a few comments?
I would. Thank you very much. So the budget was carefully constructed with a focus on keeping costs as low as possible. I do believe that the draft budget is fiscally responsible. The operating budget increases 2.7% from last year's budget. This is substantially lower than the inflation rate for the same time period of 7%, which averages out to be 7.5%. The ability to maintain our expenses at 2.7% was largely possible by relocating offices to a smaller and a less expensive space. And this it's estimated to reduce rent expense in 2024 by over 17%. The actual savings are actually substantially higher because a rent increase was scheduled to go into effect at the old space. So the savings are substantially higher. So as those costs are avoided. Increases in costs due to inflationary pressures are represented in the budget. So you'll see certain line items that are increased because of that. And at this point, I'll take any questions. Myself and Claire will take any questions that you may have on the budget.
Okay, seeing none. This budget, as prepared by the BFSA staff, commences the public comment period. If you have any comments, you can say them now, or you can forward those to Executive Director Rowe. Approval of the budget will be in June. May I have a motion to authorize staff to post the preliminary 2023-24 budget and related four-year financial plan on the BFSA website and in city public libraries? Jeanette, thank you. I'll second. All those in favor say aye. Okay, it passes. Jeanette, you can post all of those. The next item of business is to approve Ludman and McCormick as auditors for BFSA for the current fiscal year ending June 30th, 2023. Ludman and McCormick have provided excellent service over the past few years. There is an increase in the fee of $1,500 over last year. Ludman and McCormick were originally contracted pursuant to the request for proposals, and this action will extend the contract for an additional year. A copy of the engagement letter and accompanying draft resolution has been provided under tab 1 of your board book. May I have a motion to approve the engagement of the accounting firm of Ludman and McCormick LLP to perform the BFSA audit for the year ending June 30th, 2023. Jeanette, thanks. I'll second. Any discussion? No? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It passes.
Hi, I just can't get sound on my,
Okay.
I'm in the meeting, but I can't get sound.
Okay. Can you hear me over the phone? I can hear you.
Okay. Is that Nikki?
How are you doing, Jeanette? Can you hear now? Can you hear us, Jeanette? Raise your hand if you can hear us. Okay. So, Jeanette Robe, are we working on this?
I didn't realize I was muted. Nikita, are you able to mute Jeanette, and I can work with her on the phone to get her on her sound fixed?
I have muted her.
Okay.
I do see that now. Okay, thank you. So we'll work on that, Fred.
Great, thank you. If it's okay, Jeanette, I can, as long as you can hear me, if we make a motion and you want to raise your hand to be the person to make the motion, that would probably work if we're moving on. So we have one more item of business. The next item of business is the annual reporting of the 2023 to this committee from the Internal Controls Officer regarding testing and related findings. The Internal Controls Officer is a statutory required appointment. Internal Controls memos are included under tab 1 of the board book. Internal Controls Officer Bryce Link will now give a report. Thank you, Bryce.
All right, thank you. I'll start in 1 second. Before I begin on this, Nikita, just so you know, the screen sharing is disabled. So just an FYI before we get to the full meeting, I really don't need it for my presentation, but
can I ask a question too? On my laptop here, I can't get rid of this window talking about the meeting being live streamed. And I click on got it, and I click on the close X, and it still won't go. So in other words, Bryce, your face is being covered up.
probably the best thing you're seeing then.
Can you move the box, Sandy?
Nathan is on his way to you.
Okay, thank you. I apologize for that.
That's
No
all right.
problem.
We'll use the committee meeting to work through some of these tech hiccups.
Technical
I
issues.
don't know, I can't get rid of
All right.
For the recording, this is the first meeting we're having in the new office space. So I'm glad that we're putting all of this together and getting everything worked out now. Are we waiting on Jeanette to come back in?
Yes, I had her leave and come back in.
Okay. Well, good.
So I have control.
Jeanette's
of that.
connecting, Bryce, so if we can wait another minute or two.
Will do.
And hopefully Andy's back as well. Andy, are you back?
Dr. Jurasek, are you able to hear through the computer now?
Jeanette, can you raise your hand if you're hearing us, so we at least know that part's working? Yeah.
Oh, did she just leave again?
Yeah. Do we want to stop recording until we get this fixed?
I was just gonna suggest that. Nikita, could you,
Stop the
Pause it.
live feed. Just so everyone knows, we will be back as soon as we correct our technical. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and welcome everybody back. We fixed our technical difficulties, so thank you. So our last item of business is the annual reporting to this committee of the internal controls officer, and we'll ask Bryce to start his report.
Take two. Good afternoon. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to address the AFB committee this afternoon. The two areas that were reviewed were the payroll recording and processing and personal hiring, training, and evaluation processes here at the BFSA. Both summary reports are included in your board book under tab 1. With BFSA being an agency of 5 staff members, there's quite a bit of oversight occurring on all transactions. Segregation of duties was reviewed and demonstrated that controls are in place regarding BFSA operations and are functioning as intended. During the course of my review, there were no material findings. Additional focus was placed on areas where potential fraud could occur. The first report we'd be reviewing focuses on the payroll recording and processing. The payroll recording and processing process review included testing. The period that was tested was the entire 21-22 fiscal year and the first 6 months of the 22-23 fiscal year. So a total of 41% of all payroll transactions from the prior fiscal year and 54% of all transactions in the current fiscal year were reviewed to date. In addition, a high-level analysis and review of all payroll transactions that occurred during both fiscal years was conducted to look for any anomalies. No such anomalies were identified, and all transactions appeared to be reasonable. Segregation of duties. The focus of the review was on the segregation of duties. Process includes the comptroller, the executive director, as well as the treasurer. As stated before, there is a clear segregation of duties and responsibilities throughout the payroll process. Is a few examples. The executive director is responsible for reviewing all timesheets. The comptroller is responsible for commuting all information, including changes to the outside payroll processor, and initiating the payroll transfer internally with the authority's treasurer. The comptroller is responsible for issuing checks, including the electronic transfer of withholdings to the appropriate federal and state entities. The treasurer is responsible for reviewing payroll transfer requests, conducting the transfer from the operations account to the payroll account, and signing any checks. It was determined that payroll is only completed with proper authorization, and there is a clear segregation of duties. Comptroller initiates the process, but includes both the executive director and treasurer on all transaction requests. The executive director has authority to make necessary payroll transfers, and this has only occurred at limited occasions over the years when the treasurer is unavailable. There are timely and adequate recordings of all payroll transactions, including the required holdings and payments made to federal and state authorities. Process, it's a standardized process in place in regards to the payroll process. The comptroller communicates with both staff and the payroll company to verify all deductions and withholdings are accurate. The payroll bank account is reconciled by the comptroller monthly with review by the executive director on a quarterly or biannual basis. and the executive director reviews all journal entries and all transfers initiated by the comptroller. In the area of fraud, the payroll process is an area of fraud could occur without strong oversight and internal controls in place. One of the most common ways of committing fraud through payroll is carrying a fictitious deceased or recently departed employee on the system. There's a very low chance of this occurring. BFSA staff is 5 individuals. And then with comptroller, executive director, and treasurer being involved on these transactions, there is plenty of oversight. An additional control is that BFSA staff provides quarterly budget updates to the BFSA board of directors, which shows actual to date compared to adopted budget. Findings. There are no material findings at this time. The comptroller is dedicated to preparing the material in advance and provides ample notice to the treasurer to begin the payroll transfer process. Comptroller has been focused on completing all required reporting requirements and necessary transactions, and there have been no delays in reporting or recording any transactions in completing the payroll reconciliations. It is recommended that BFSA staff maintain appropriate records of all transactions and file them in a timely manner, as well as maintain the current segregation of duties. In addition, it is noticed that BFSA, in an effort to promote transparency and good governance, posts the following operational documents online, including the BFSA bylaws, BFSA compensation and reimbursement policy, BFSA whistleblower policy, and the BFSA budget. If there are no questions this time in regards to the payroll process, I'll move on to the second area of testing.
Go ahead.
Hearing no questions. All right. The second area that was reviewed was personnel hiring, training, and evaluation. Excuse me. The review focused on the established processes for professional development, training opportunities, employee evaluations, and procedures for employees hiring and leaving the BFSA. The testing focused on 4 areas. First one being the employee evaluation process. Second one, employee professional development training opportunities. Third, employee hiring and separation from BFSA. And then the fourth being the opportunity to complete fraudulent activity. The testing included a staff survey conducted on the employee evaluation process, training opportunities made available to employees, and interviews with employees concerning their employment at BFSA. In regards to the evaluation process, there is a set evaluation process in place, and all employees are aware of it and have participated in it. Under professional development and training opportunities, the BFSA's single largest asset are its employees. The BFSA strives to invest in the employees to assist in performing their jobs and for professional development. In conducting interviews with staff members, it was determined that all staff are encouraged to pursue professional development opportunities. In addition, staff members are encouraged to maintain professional designations and memberships in professional associations. Hiring and termination. The review of the hiring process was limited as staff turnover is infrequent. The executive director conducts an employee search hiring process only after a current employee has indicated they are leaving the BFSA. On average, staff turnover has been limited to a single individual once every 4 to 5 years. It was determined the onboarding process for new employees is critical in providing them with the appropriate material and initial training necessary for their position. The executive director maintains a checklist of items to provide to new employees upon hiring, including but not limited to the BFSA employee handbook, code of ethics, and conflict of interest policy. Several employees have terminated their employment to pursue other professional opportunities or to retire over the years. The executive director requests a letter of resignation if the employee has not provided one, which is maintained in their personnel file. In addition, the executive director schedules an exit interview to meet with the employee before they depart from the BFSA. Opportunity to commit fraudulent activity. Employee training, evaluation, hiring is not an area of high risk for fraud. The hiring process is so infrequent that likelihood of fraud occurring is low. By establishing job specifications and minimum employee qualifications, a staff member is unlikely to attempt to hire someone via patronage or nepotism. Findings, there are no material findings at this time. In addition, the BFSA, in effort to promote transparency and good governance, posts the following operational documents online: the BFSA adopted budget and four-year financial plan, compensation and reimbursement policy, policy regarding extension of credit, code of ethics, conflict of interest policy, travel policy, and the whistleblower policy. That is all I have in regards to the internal controls reporting at this time.
Does anyone have any questions? Jeanette, do you have anything else you'd like to add? Okay.
I'm sorry, I didn't know which Jeanette.
Jeanette, yeah. Either
No, I
Jeanette,
just want to, yeah, I just want to thank Bryce. He did a very thorough review. I think we have a really good system of internal controls in place to the extent we can with being such a small office. But I do want to thank him on doing such a thorough job and analysis on all of these every year.
Thank you.
thank you. And thank you, Bryce. Is there any other business to be considered before the committee? No, seeing none, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So
All
moved.
those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?